100 yards in that direction is where Bardsley Colliery once was. And in 1858, 2nd of February, about 10 minutes past 5 in the afternoon, the shift had just finished, and the winder man remembers bringing at least half the workforce up to the surface. But it basically meant that the people that were still down there were the young men and the boys, some as young as 10 years old, who were the thrusters and the drawers who moved the coal along the tracks from the coal seam to the cage that brought it to the surface. So unfortunately they were the ones that were still down there when there was this massive gas explosion. It killed 52 people. The youngest was a little lad of 11. And I didn't even know the pit existed. This is Bardsley Church behind me. I was baptised here, I was married here, my parents are buried in the graveyard just at the back. So it's somewhere I know really well, but didn't know this was a massive coal area, and that Bardsley Colliery was literally, as I say, just yards down the road there. Certainly didn't know about the disaster, which is very strange, although I'll show you in a minute there are some signs that there definitely was a colliery in this area. But very, very sad story, and spurred me on, if you like, to write the story and set it to music as well. So I'm now on the actual site of the colliery. This is Smokey's Hotel behind me here, which was built directly over the top of the mine shaft. And just around the corner is Smokey's nightclub, where I used to go as a teenager, and I've stayed at this hotel as well for various family occasions. And it's quite bizarre, because every time I've been here, again, never realised that the pit and all the various shafts and tunnels are directly below us. And there are other things I need to show you as well.
But I cannot hide for the devil's pit, the eternal fire and the turning spit. You see, I'm a man of many skins.
So this house behind me, which used to be a pub when I was a little nipper, called the Black Diamond, is so called because the disaster actually happened in Bardsley Colliery, but in the diamond, what they call the diamond mine. It's also another name for coal. I think that's generally known, that coal is known in the mining fraternity as the Black Diamond, and it also happens to be the name of my musical as well. Okay, so again, another clue to the area. We're slightly north now of the coal pit, on Coal Pit Lane. This funeral directors behind here is where the halfway house used to be, the public house. And this is where they held the inquest about a week after the explosion. And the verdict was accidental death for every man and boy that unfortunately lost their life. And the management, the colliery company, were fined £5. My mum knows this pub, or when she was alive knew this pub very well. She once accidentally fell down the cellar steps. And unfortunately ended up in hospital, so quite a little bit of Lawton history about the place. This is Bardsley Methodist Church, rebuilt from the old one, but apparently there's a memorial in there to all the colliers that died on that day. The colliery is just at the top of the hill there, and this is Bardsley Canal. So the coal used to be brought down on, like, tram rails, I guess, down the hill to meet the the coal boats or the canal boats to take the coal to either the Park Bridge Ironwork Mill, which is over in that way, or even down into Ashton and even as far as Manchester. And this is at the time of the sort of cotton mills and the time of sort of steam engines and things like that, the real sort of industrial revolution. And Bardsley Colliery was key to supplying the coal needed to work the various mills. Whilst a lot of the musical takes place on the coalface itself or in the colliery yard, and is based on a lot of facts about the disaster itself, I have introduced a number of other storylines, one of which is about Molly Mahoney, who happens to be a lady of the night, and she tends to sell her wares down by Bardsley Brew, which is just literally minutes down the road there, but they renamed, in my particular musical, they renamed the tunnel down there, or the bridge down there, Mahoney's Bridge, after her exploit, shall we say.
Till you're gone, 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 gone. You'll find her by the...
This is the, used to be the canal bridge. It's blocked off now, but the canal bridge that went under the main Oldham Ashton Road artery. And this is where, in my musical, Molly Mahoney sells her wares. And it's quite a tragic tale about her. As I say, it's not based on any kind of fact.
She had to raise 2 kids in that dirty old cave, like a mother before her.
So this is one of the mills at Park Bridge, and this is where Sam Woodall, one of the main characters in the musical, comes to try and find a job when he's got the sack from the coal mine. Unfortunately, word's gone ahead that he's a bit of a troublemaker, so wherever he goes for a job, the doors are more or less slammed in his face. Yeah, poor old Sam. But like a lot of musicals, there's a happy ending. This is a bridge that takes you over to another colliery, very, very close to Bardsley Colliery. This is called Fairbottom, and this is where the famous Fairbottom Bobs was located, which was basically a steam engine, very early steam engine that used to pump water away from the pit below. Unfortunately, there's very little here now, just a few sort of brick walls where the site used to be, and the steam engine, the Fairbottom Bobs as it was called, is in the Henry Ford Museum in America. So a long way away, but quite picturesque. The second day of our travels, and we're less than half a mile, I would suggest, north of Bardsley Colliery, at what used to be Wood Park Colliery. It stopped producing in the early 1950s, and I remember it as a child as being one massive sort of area of slag, where they used to ditch the small pieces of coal. No trees then, obviously it's fairly overgrown now, and it's been turned in what looks to be an off-road track for Range Rovers and Land Rovers. Lots of hilly areas, very strange landscape to some degree. Okay, so I've done a little recce around the area and stumbled across a little piece of black diamond. So that was a brief history of Bardsley Colliery Disaster and a taster of the musical Black Diamond. If you'd like more information, please go to the Facebook page New Musicals Online, or there's a website, newmusicalsonline, all one word, .co.uk. I'll be putting regular updates there. On the website there are 2 other musicals, The Walking Wounded, which is about the aftermath of the Battle of Waterloo, and The Driven, which is about the Irish potato famine. If you're interested in putting one of your musicals on my website, please please go there and you'll find a contact page and details of how it all works. Thank you for watching.
Rusty blade, I put her in the ground. With that rusty blade, I put her in the ground.